this is what the cone of power is. In the oldest days, actually, they used to wear the sharp, pointy hats. And they would hold their brooms high. And sometimes they would hobby horse around the fires on their brooms to increase this power. Or sometimes they would hold their brooms high and then move them in a swirling motion to create or generate this energy that they're wanting so much. You know, but they put so much more into it in the older days. And we need to get back to that. I mean, I find today that a lot of us, and I've heard so many people saying, I'm a lazy pagan, you know, and it's the truth. A lot of the times today, we can honestly say we feel lazy, or we're so pulled on by everything else that by the time it comes to our craft, we're lazy pagans. And we really do need to get back to putting more into the work that we used to do. But whether you're creating the lighted walls that encases everything that you're going to create within that circle, or you're with other people and you're bringing up that cone of power to its highest so that you can eventually break that down and send the energy to its destined place. It's the same thing, but it's a different way. And it really depends so much on how high your power is. If you can raise the cone of power by yourself, then by all means do so. I do find that it's a lot simpler and you can increase a lot more power the smaller your circle is if you're solitary, and by just bringing up the lit walls and eventually dropping them down. And this is what I wanted to explain, especially to Jay, because I didn't explain that enough. You know, it was an on-the-spot question, so I didn't have a lot of time to think about why I do things the way I do. Generally, I flow in a natural motion. Or perhaps I've just been doing it for so long that it's become habit and subconscious action to me, you know, that has the desired effects. You know, I haven't been forced to sit down and think about a lot of this until I put together this channel. And then I've had a lot of questions put to me, and I've had to sit down and really evaluate and take myself back to the beginning, which was, 34 years ago or so, as to why I do this or why I do that. You know, a person tends to fall into a formation or a habit or a certain way of doing things, you know, without ever thinking about it, especially when they become a solitary practitioner. And I've been a solitary for, I would say, 4 or 5 years now, I believe. Anyway, and you know, since then, I've done my practice my way. I've just done what I had to do, and I knew how to do it. I started the channel 2 years ago. The first year, there wasn't a lot of activity. I made 2 videos and just let them sit there. But I would say for about the past, let's say a year and a half. Well, there was even, you know, the better part of a year I took off because of my illness. You know, so, you know, I've really had a lot of questions put to me. I had to sit down and really evaluate the things I do and go back through time to remember where I started doing things the way I started doing them, who taught me that, why it was done that way. And the answers were there a lot easier than what I surmised. You know, when I started the channel, I was afraid I wouldn't be able to answer the questions that were put to me when they were put to me. But I find that the answers are there. They've been dormant so long as far as where wording is concerned. And so it's really a matter of learning how to public speak. You know, public speaking is a very big portion of either entertainment or, you know, instructional videos and so forth. But I find that, you know, it's a lot easier than what I feared, and I'm doing pretty good, I think, you know. But anyway, next time you are creating your cone of power or drawing up your walls of power, it's the same thing, you know. Drawing up your lighted walls is the same thing as drawing up your walls of power. I mean, and that's what I guess I would call it if I had to tag it. And I've never been forced to actually tag that. So, you know, I've always called them my lighted walls. But in all reality, I'm taking power from above through my forefinger or through my wand, and I'm directing it into the perimeter of my circle, starting on the right side of the east opening in the gateway, and working my way around, directing that light into the walls. And by the time I'm through, light begins to rise, and it goes as high as you can see. And that right there, my dear friends, holds the power that I will from then forward begin increasing by rattles or bells or singing or chanting or even sex magic. There is all kinds of magic out there in the world. And when you have a partner, a lover, a mate, you know, then sex magic is quite the possibility. And perhaps something that needs to be discussed also on the show. But I kind of feel like that mother, that nurturing spirit that finds it hard to talk to her children about sex. I'm just kidding. No, sex is a natural part of everything, and without it, none of us would be here. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, you know, the more space you need, the more you have to create. Also, the more you have to fill with power and energy. The more people you have, the more space you're going to need, and the more energy that all of you are gonna have to create. And it's easy enough to create all the power to more than fill that place, you know, with multiple people dancing around and chanting all at the same time, perhaps with your witches' hats on, perhaps sky-clad, perhaps in robes, perhaps no hat whatsoever, you know, maybe your cloaks, headdress, you know, whatever you feel. But remember that it's what you feel, how empowered you feel, how good you feel about what you're doing. If you don't feel good about what you're doing, if you don't feel right about it, or if you don't feel good about all the people that are in circle with you, and you're thinking about that while you're trying to cast up circle, it's going to harness you. It's going to pull your energy down. You're not going to meet your ultimate goal. None of you will. And so it's likewise equally important to know who your partners are, who's dancing around in circle with you, what their strengths are, if their energy is good or bad, if they affect you in a negative way. It's important for you to go into it yourself in the right mode, not sit there, you know, wear yourself down creating the circle, you know, drawing it up and all of that, doing the physical, getting things together, and then sit down all tired and everything, and then start watching the clock and then say, oh God, I guess I better get going or else I'm never going to get this done. Then you are going to go into that circle and you're not going to increase anything. It's all going to sit heavy. It's going to stay put on the floor or inside yourself, or it's just not going to come at all. So sometimes it's even better to keep your altar room, your sanctuary casted up at all times, or to do your drawing of your circle the night before, and don't let anybody mess with it, so that whenever you are ready to actually go through this, then your energy is there and you don't feel like you just have to do it. You see. Anyway, this is Lady Leeanna with another edition of Eclectic Spirituality, and I really hope that this has been of a help to you, and that whenever you get ready to cast up your cone of power or your walls of power, you use your best judgment on the right mode, the right people, the right elements, the right size of circle, and the right method. Because there is more than even the 2 methods that I've given you.